Wow, so we're all good. I trust you're all doing well. So nice to be back again. Welcome to the channel. For those who have listened in and have been enjoying and giving me feedback, I really appreciate. And one more thing, do subscribe and like and share. And for those who have already got their books, wow, well done. I hope it's a blessing to you. So today, I just want to reflect on a discussion I had with some young ones, actually with one of my sons. And I was talking about going through. I was like, going through. What do you mean, Mom? What do you mean? I said, yeah, when you're going through, you're going through. And it turns out that I missed out the word it. So it just made a lot of sense when I said, yeah, like going through it, right? So it's like going through it, not just going through. So what does that really mean? I think it talks to what do you do when you're going through it or when you're going through, depending on what you're going through, what stage of your life you are at. And I recall so many times, different stages of my life where I had to go through one thing or another. As you know, I do have a 5-year gap in my CV where I was at home. Definitely at that time, I was going through what it was. I didn't know at the time, but I was going through, right? And so in that time, like I've said before, we need to prepare, we need to engage, we need to see, have a vision, find out who we are and how we can successfully go through so that at the end you come out a better person, you come out more empowered, to take on those big challenges, big opportunities that are there for you. So it leads to the thought about private activities. I don't know if you've heard about the iceberg, that iceberg that you just see the top and then the bottom, nobody knows what happens beneath, right? So what are those things that need to happen beneath, that needs to happen away from the camera? What are those private activities that one should get involved in? Or in fact, what are those private activities that you are involved in? That if God was to shine a light and show everybody this is what you do, you not want the public to know. I think we need to start there and check what are those things that we do when nobody is watching. How do we prepare ourselves or how do we damage ourselves? Because some of us may be engaging in private activities that really you don't want anybody to know about. I can't imagine that there will be things about pornography or things about evil imaginations. I mean, those are private things. And guess what? It leads to the public expression. So things done in private will soon be brought out into the public. I remember a lecturer of ours saying, I can't remember what it was about, whether somebody was pregnant or not. And there was no, she's pregnant. No, she's not. It's like, why are you whispering? Soon, that thing that was done in private will be in the public. We will all see and we will know that, oh gosh, this person is pregnant. So it brings us back to think about how do we use our private time? What are the activities we engage with in private? And thinking again about that iceberg, you only see the top of it, but you actually don't see what goes on beneath it. There are many people who have successful businesses. You don't know the challenges they have gone through in just getting that business to where it is. The sleepless nights, the toiling, the thinking about what they're supposed to do, the engaging, the searching that they go through just so that they can come out as if they're on top of their games. So indeed, there is that need for the private activities, the preparing, the thinking, the reading. There's a book titled As a Man Thinketh. It's really telling us what goes into your mind, what you allow into your mind, what you look at. There is this lovely, what can I call her, FFA, and she talks about you are what you look at. So what are you looking at? Where are you taking examples from? That is how you engage. What are you spending your private time doing so that it can lead to public victories? How are you preparing yourself to go through whatever your it is? I don't know if we are young, our it may be just navigating early stages of life. If you are in your middle life, you may be dealing with middle life crisis. You know, that middle life crisis comes in so many ways. You're just finding yourself. Your children no longer need you. You're no longer the hero that you used to be. They know more than you, better than you. Your parents are also, clocking off. You're dealing with many things. You're probably also reaching a stage where you're like, wow, time is going, and you're having to rethink, what is my life really all about? So how are you dealing with the it that you need to go through? It comes from the private activities. So what are the good private activities, I wonder? You know, it makes me recall a time a friend of mine, she said to me, so what do you wake up to do every morning? And I was like, yeah, I'm studying. So the stage of life I was at, children were out of the house. My husband was busy with his business and his practice. And I was like, now, okay, what next? I'd completed my PhD. I was like, okay, so what next? Where do I stand? What do I do next? And she asked me that question. So what do you wake up to do every morning? At the time, I woke up to just make sure that everybody was okay. The children were fine. My husband was good. The house is stable. I needed to do my studies. And I was like, so what do I really wake up to do every day? And at that time, by the way, we had just got 2 Yorkies. And so the first thing I did when I wake up in the morning was to clear the mess of these Yorkies. And I was like, what? Can this be it? To just wake up and run after some puppies? No, I don't want that. So I had to really think, how do I deal with this? How do I stabilize them? How do I get them to do their own thing and move on? So I put that aside. I dealt with that aspect of it to just make sure I'm not worrying about them. And then the next thing was I was praying for the children. Oh God, how do I even pray for my children? How do I engage with them? Remember, the adult children also get to a stage where it's like they don't need you anymore. They'll never agree to that, but it's almost like, I can't talk now. Indeed, maybe because they're busy with their life, I can't talk now. Can I call you back? Or they don't even answer the phone, right? But you are there busy praying for them. You want to know what's happening with their lives so that you know how to pray purposefully about what they're going through. But you can only do that if there is that relationship. So I would do that. I would study again, and I'll try and get into my thinking capacity, try writing a book. I think that was actually when I started writing reflections on prayer, because it was like, okay, what next? What is the next big thing? And indeed, what is the next big thing that I want to engage in that will be too big for me to do on my own, right? That's how we want to keep on dealing with those private activities. And then you also don't want to fall back with your professional career. As you know, I'm an architect. So I got involved with the Institute of Architects, started engaging with how are they thinking about things. I got involved with the council also because I felt I could add value there. I could add relevance there in the different committees that are set up in the council. So that's another way you could go about it. I also tried to get back into practice, full-time practice. So I started looking for properties. I started engaging with an estate agent friend of mine. We were looking for rundown properties on how we can revamp them and make them more marketable, So in all this, it's all about the private thinking time, the private prayer time, the private reading time. So I read a lot about property development and the kind of trends that the markets will have. So I'm more informed about it. And then if I am giving some counsel on how to buy a property or how to choose a property or even manage your property, I could then be able to speak about it from an informed perspective. So in that way, it would then mean from time to time, it is actually good to have a retreat, right? A retreat from social media. But you must subscribe, right? You must subscribe and share the video. So you must just have a retreat from all the noise. There's so much noise out there. Noise of your phone. Your phone rings at any time and you're picking it up. The noise from TV, the noise from radio, the noise from friends. Sometimes you just need to retreat, and retreat into that private place. But don't go there alone. Don't go there with a blank slate. Go there with some kind of book, some kind of guide, your Bible, and with a guide. So that as you're going through that retreat, you're able to come out a new person, a refreshed person. Indeed, as the man would think or woman would think, what are you putting on your mind? What is the vision? I read this book and I highly recommend it. The book is titled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That is a good book by Steve Covey. You really need to read that book. It talks about just habits, habits, habits that you can build in your life, and you can put your whole system in automatic. You just do what you do because your body knows that's what you want to do. You don't have to think too much about it. I think that's a very good place to start. Going to that private place with a book like that, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And you would find that it talks about you getting a personal mission statement. It talks about you thinking of the end, start with the end in mind. What do you want the end story? In fact, it tells us to think about our burial. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's on YouTube also. You could look at it. Or you could buy the book. I've done both. I bought the book, so I'm underlining it. I'm reading it again. It talks about sharpening the sword. So going into a place, into a private place, with a book like that and your Bible. Bible is always a good way of reflecting. It's a good guide of reflecting on yourself, to even get to know yourself better. What do I like? What makes me excited? What makes me feel dull? What makes me feel slow? You start checking about your own self. What am I really about? Who am I, by the way? And then you start understanding yourself better. You start knowing what you need in your own life. You start understanding how you can be relevant in the society that we are in this time. And that is done in private, right? It's not done in public. So by the time you do this, you reflect on your relationships, where you are having not such good relationships. You're able to now bring it to God and say, God, I want in fact, I want the best relationship with my daughter. I want the best relationship with my sons. Oh God, I have friends, but I don't have good friends. Lord, I want good friends, because you now are aware that those are some of the things that you need to get. And doing these things in private now helps you to show up in public, right? Like polished, sharpened, ready to take on the world, ready to contribute, and ready to receive, because you know now what you need in your life. Well, I hope that works about going through it, whatever your it is. You need to go through. Don't sit there. The worst thing you can do is to fall and stay down. We all fall from time to time, but the worst thing is to stay down. You must just fall, cry a bit with one eye. Don't cry with two eyes, because you won't even see the helper when the helper comes. Cry with one eye open, and then when the helper comes, reach out and grab the stick, and then you'll be pulled out of the mire or the muck or mess you found yourself in. And you keep on going through those private activities, reading, praying, thinking, meditating, and then it will bring out the public victories. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you've enjoyed the chat. Please like, share, subscribe. If you've been blessed, don't keep it to yourself. Share with others. Bye.